Okay, y'all, so let's get into this Pusha T clips conversation. So Pusha T and his brother Malice sat down with GQ, and they had a conversation about everything, where music is now, and the fact that, they had their first album coming out. It's been 15 years. But one of the biggest questions that a lot of people had is, why has it taken so long? And according to Pusha T, he says that Def Jam tried to censor Kendrick Lamar's verse on a song that they have on the album, and eventually it turned into a back and forth of censor it, take the song off, and then from there it went to them eventually dropping clips and Pusha T solo. That's and crazy. Then them moving on.
Well, it hasn't been 15 years because of that. It was 15 years because the one brother gave up rap at one time and only wanted to do Christian rap. And now they got back together doing rap.
But I mean, they dropped a press release over the summer, and over the summer when they dropped the press release, and then remember they teased the song at the LV fashion show. People thought that it was gonna be like a lot sooner than right now than today. So that's what I'm referring to. But so what happened was, when that press release dropped, a lot of people realized that there was no mention of Def Jam, which was a thing because clips, that their whole deal with Def Jam was new. It happened over like the last year or so. So people was like, what is going on? And instead they actually attributed the distribution and the marketing to Jay-Z's Roc Nation.
In a revelation that has sent shockwaves through the music industry, Pusha T has dropped a bombshell claim. Def Jam allegedly tried to destroy Kendrick Lamar's career over the ongoing lawsuit between Drake and himself. This unexpected disclosure has reignited the long-standing feud between Pusha T and Drake, further complicating the already tense dynamics within the hip-hop world. Fans and insiders are left stunned, questioning just how deep the power struggles run behind the scenes of the music industry's most influential labels. For years, the tension between Drake and Pusha T has been simmering, with each artist lobbing public jabs at the other. But Pusha T's latest revelation adds a new, chilling layer to this saga, one that implicates the industry's major players, including Def Jam, and threatens to reshape the public's perception of Kendrick Lamar's rise to fame. According to Pusha T, this alleged manipulation was not just about personal rivalry, but about control, with Def Jam reportedly attempting to sabotage Kendrick Lamar's career in an attempt to settle scores tied to Drake's legal battles. This disclosure isn't just a shot across the bow at Drake, it's an explosive insight into the darker side of the music industry. Def Jam, one of the most powerful record labels in the business, has long been seen as a key player in shaping the careers of top artists. But if these claims are true, it reveals a more sinister, behind-the-scenes influence aimed at destroying one of the most respected voices in rap today, Kendrick Lamar. As the dust settles, fans and industry professionals alike are left wondering, what kind of power plays are happening behind closed doors, and how these revelations will ripple through the industry. Stay tuned as we dive into the details of Pusha T's shocking claim, exploring its potential impact on the music world, Kendrick Lamar's career, and the larger narrative of power and manipulation in the entertainment industry. The feud between Pusha T and Drake has been one of the most intense and public rivalries in modern hip-hop. It traces its origins to long-standing tensions and personal jabs exchanged between the two rappers. However, it reached its boiling point in 2018 with Pusha T's infamous diss track, The Story of Adidon. In this track, Pusha T not only addressed Drake's history with the label Cash Money, but he also took the fight to a personal level, exposing Drake's secret son with former adult film star Sophie Brousseau. This was a direct attack on Drake's public image and was widely seen as crossing a line in their ongoing back and forth. The stakes in this feud were far more than just personal. At the heart of this battle was a broader conflict for dominance within the rap industry. Drake, a dominant force in mainstream rap, and Pusha T, a respected lyricist known for his gritty and often unflinching approach to rap, represented two different aspects of hip-hop culture. Drake, with his commercial success and global appeal, represented the pop-rap crossover, while Pusha T remained rooted in underground authenticity and street credibility. Their rivalry encapsulated the tension between mainstream success and underground legitimacy in hip-hop. The Story of Adidon track was not only an attack on Drake's personal life, but also exposed a deep professional animosity between the two. In the song, Pusha T brought up the fact that Drake had been hiding his son, a direct attack on Drake's carefully curated public persona. This personal revelation hit hard, with the media and fans immediately jumping into the controversy. Drake responded with duppy freestyle and briefly seemed to dismiss the accusations. But the damage had been done, with Pusha T's track dominating headlines. The feud escalated even further when Drake filed a lawsuit against Pusha T, claiming that the diss track had caused irreparable damage to his career and reputation. Drake argued that Pusha T had gone too far, claiming that the allegations were defamatory and that the revelations about his personal life were damaging. The lawsuit escalated the tension between the two camps, with Def Jam the label behind. Pusha T seemingly playing a key role in stoking the flames of this battle. At this stage, the feud was no longer just about two artists clashing, but was deeply enmeshed in legal and financial stakes, raising the question of how far the music industry's power brokers were willing to go to protect their artists and their reputations. As the feud intensified, a surprising new element emerged. Kendrick Lamar's name began to surface in the conversation, particularly when it became known that Def Jam was allegedly trying to use the ongoing conflict as leverage against Kendrick Lamar's camp. The involvement of a third party in such a personal and bitter battle was unexpected, as Kendrick Lamar, despite his own success, had never been directly involved in the conflict between Drake and Pusha T. However, insiders and various reports suggested that the power dynamics at play, driven by label influence and business interests, meant that Kendrick Lamar was now somehow caught in the middle. Kendrick Lamar, often seen as the conscious voice of modern rap, represented a stark contrast to the commercial hip-hop empire that both Drake and Pusha T occupied. His name becoming intertwined in this feud marked a significant shift in the story. Allegedly, Def Jam's efforts to undermine Kendrick's credibility or manipulate his career stemmed from the wider pressures and conflicts surrounding Drake's lawsuit. This was seen as a strategic move to damage a rising rival's public standing in an effort to make Pusha T, a key figure in the rap world, look more favorable by comparison. The significance of this revelation is monumental because it suggests that the industry's power brokers were willing to sacrifice and destroy the careers of even their own artists to win personal and professional wars. If true, it exposes a grim side of the industry where artists are not only fighting against one another, but are also being maneuvered like pawns in a game of power, influence, and business strategy. This new layer to the ongoing feud suggests that the stakes for Kendrick Lamar went beyond his artistry and the music he created, touching on the darker sides of business and industry manipulation. In summary, the Pusha T and Drake feud began as a personal rivalry, but has now become a complex web of legal battles, industry power struggles, and shifting allegiances. With Kendrick Lamar's name now brought into the conflict, the stakes have been raised even higher, making it clear that this battle involves not just egos and personal grudges, but also the bigger picture of influence, control, and survival. In the ever-changing music industry, in a startling turn of events, Pusha T's bombshell revelation regarding Def Jam's alleged attempts to undermine Kendrick Lamar's career has sent shockwaves throughout the music industry. According to Pusha T, the tension between the label, the power dynamics at play, and the larger conflict involving Drake's lawsuit against him created a toxic environment, one that seemingly led Def Jam to attempt sabotaging Kendrick Lamar's rapidly growing career. Pusha T's claims are as explosive as they are alarming. In interviews, industry reports, and leaked documents, he alleged that Def Jam, the powerhouse label behind both his career and various other prominent rap artists, sought to stymie Kendrick Lamar's trajectory for reasons that were directly linked to their ongoing involvement with the Drake feud. According to Pusha T, the label saw Kendrick Lamar, who had already begun to make waves in the industry, as a threat to Pusha's own position in the rap world, as well as to the commercial success of artists like Drake. What Pusha T suggests is that Def Jam, in a calculated move, worked behind the scenes to damage Kendrick's relationships within the industry. It's not just about sabotaging his music or tampering with his artistic vision. Rather, it's about removing him from the equation altogether. He claims that Def Jam played a role in orchestrating delays in Kendrick's releases, creating tension between Lamar and key producers, and fostering a sense of instability in his professional life. At the core of these allegations is the claim that Def Jam aimed to disrupt Kendrick's rise to the top of the rap game by undermining his credibility and the very foundations of his career. Whether it was through failing to push certain projects or discouraging collaboration with influential figures in hip-hop, the idea was to distract Kendrick and shift the public and industry's focus onto other artists, particularly Pusha T, though. Allegations made by Pusha T about Def Jam's involvement in attempting to damage Kendrick Lamar's career come into clearer focus when situated within the larger timeline of the feud between Pusha and Drake. The animosity between Pusha T and Drake erupted into the public eye in 2018 with the infamous The Story of Adidon diss track, where Pusha T not only dissed Drake, but also exposed his secret child with Sophie Brousseau. Drake retaliated with his own diss track, but things took a darker turn when the lawsuit followed, with Drake alleging defamation and the potential destruction of his career. As these events unfolded, Pusha T claims that the timing was crucial. It was in the wake of this escalating conflict that Def Jam began to interfere with Kendrick Lamar's career. Pusha T, who had personal ties to the label and was entrenched in its dealings, alleges that during this period of growing tension between Drake and Pusha T, Def Jam chose to focus its resources on preventing Lamar from rising further in the industry. As the conflict with Drake intensified, it suggested that the label began seeing Kendrick as a competitor, forcing them to act in ways that would have far-reaching consequences for his success. It's also worth noting that while Pusha T was engaged in this very public battle with Drake, Kendrick Lamar's career was continuing to rise at a phenomenal pace. As the label's focus shifted toward the battle between Pusha and Drake, Lamar's rise, in Pusha T's words, began to threaten the balance. It's possible that Def Jam then saw Kendrick as a growing rival in the world of rap music, an industry where power is often dictated by the most commercially successful artist, and tried to sabotage his momentum to protect their other established acts. When Pusha T made these allegations, the responses from industry insiders and fans were swift and varied. Some fans found themselves shocked by the accusation, while others were not entirely surprised by the revelation, especially considering the political maneuverings that often take place behind the scenes in the music industry. Within hip-hop, the idea of labels pulling strings behind the curtain to control an artist's trajectory is nothing new, but this accusation raised serious questions about the lengths to which labels might go to maintain control. Artists close pipe. To Kendrick Lamar were quick to weigh in on the matter, with some expressing disbelief that a label as influential as Def Jam would interfere so directly with an artist's career. However, there were also whispers of acknowledgement, as some insiders have long claimed that the industry politics surrounding Kendrick Lamar's rise to fame have been unusually volatile, with rival camps reportedly working behind the scenes to diminish his impact. This new revelation, therefore, brought an even sharper focus to the idea that big labels can, and do, influence the trajectory of an artist's career. For Pusha T's side, the revelation was, in some ways, validation. The accusations not only fit into the larger narrative of Pusha's ongoing battle with Drake and the inner workings of the music industry, but also aligned with the idea that personal rivalries and business interests can often overlap to create a combustible mixture of influence, manipulation, and power struggles. Pusha T's motivations for revealing these claims are multifaceted. On one hand, it could be seen as an attempt to further cement his narrative in the ongoing battle against Drake and his label. By painting Def Jam as the villain in this story, Pusha T could be framing himself as a victim of industry politics, while at the same time elevating his own narrative and increasing his value as an industry insider. On the other hand, it's possible that Pusha T genuinely wants to bring attention to the underhanded tactics employed by the industry, using his platform to expose the lengths to which major labels will go to preserve their market share and power. The timing of the claims is also key. Pusha T's statements come at a moment when he is reasserting himself as one of hip-hop's premier lyricists and power players, and by revealing the dark side of the industry, he may be attempting to secure his place in the conversation. At the heart of Pusha T's motivations may also be his desire to ensure that the truth about the industry's manipulative practices gets the public spotlight it deserves. By making such a bold claim, he may be signaling that the truth of the music business is far more complex than many fans and artists believe, encouraging other insiders to speak out about the industry's power plays. In conclusion, Pusha T's allegations about Def Jam's actions against Kendrick Lamar are part of a larger story of power, influence, and corporate control in the music world. These claims challenge our perceptions of how the industry operates, adding fuel to an already combustible feud and bringing to light the ways in which careers can be sabotaged for corporate advantage. As this story continues to unfold, fans and industry insiders alike will be watching closely, eager to see what further revelations emerge from behind the scenes. Pusha T's explosive revelation about Def Jam's alleged attempts to undermine Kendrick Lamar's career adds a dramatic new layer to the already complex and high-stakes battle between the music industry's most influential players. By accusing the label of sabotaging Lamar's rise in response to his growing threat, Pusha has drawn attention to the underhanded tactics that often shape the trajectory of artists in the business. These claims cast a dark shadow over Def Jam's role in the music industry, as well as the lengths to which labels may go to protect their financial interests and market dominance. At its core, Pusha T's revelation serves as a stark reminder of the power and manipulation exerted by record labels over the careers of their artists. The control that labels have over not just an artist's music, but also their opportunities, relationships, and overall public image is unsettling. This power dynamic, as Pusha suggests, can be weaponized to stifle emerging talent and to safeguard the commercial success of established acts, creating an environment where competition is not just about talent, but about survival within a corrupt system. Looking ahead, the implications of Pusha T's bombshell could reverberate throughout the industry. For Kendrick Lamar, the damage to his career may be difficult to quantify, but the revelation of such industry interference could deepen his already considerable influence. However, for Def Jam and the other involved parties, the fallout could be more severe, with potential legal and professional consequences. Lawsuits, professional blacklisting, and long-term reputational damage could be on the horizon if these claims are proven true. As this saga continues to unfold, more revelations are expected to surface, and the public will be watching closely to see how the music industry responds to these allegations. Will other artists come forward with similar stories? Will Def Jam and the key players involved face consequences for their actions? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the landscape of the music business will never be the same again. Stay tuned for more shocking developments as this story unfolds.